Myself and my co-host. My co-host has been doing this for years and years, and she has thousands of people that follow, but also the other people I'm connected with. So
So we are live. Welcome, everybody. Lynn's all like, yay, me too. Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda B. Bailey. You are watching the Theta Healing Power Hour. And the beautiful thing about this is that I know like great people. I'll just say that right off the bat. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing here. You are going to meet Lynne
Diverges.
Diverges. I'm all like, Lynne, please help me with your name. Fill in, please. Diverges. So it's like a great name, right? Like we won't forget that, or the fact that Brenda couldn't pronounce it. So that's all great. But we're going to be talking with her because she does some really great things and hear about what she does. And I find people that I interview here in the co-lives fascinating. I feel very blessed that I get to draw people in. So, what we're going to do, because it's the Theta Healing Power Hour, is please, again, we're going to be working on worry, stress, fear. I feel like that it's a time right now. Like, I think people started off the quarantine with that, and then everybody was just like, let's just see where it ends. And then, like, I think kind of people are like having a second wave because it's like, man, we're still going through this, right? And what it's bringing up for them. So what they didn't look at, and then we had the Lionsgate, we've had all this planetary things that are just helping you along, and all the group consciousness and everything. So we're working on that today, and we're going to be using Theta Healing, which I always tell people, you can tell me how you think and how you feel. What you create in your life is what you believe, and it's held at a cellular level. So Theta Healing uses the theta brainwave to shift that, and it bypasses the conscious and subconscious mind. So what I love about like reading books, listening to good people and information that they have to give is that we can shift some things, that when they give us tips, tricks, and suggestions, we can just shift it to make it easier for that to happen for us. So that's what we're going to be doing. So please tag somebody that you feel like will benefit from this. Share it on your timeline and tag people. It's going to be great. You're going to get great information, and then you're going to get great work. And please understand, of course, I love everybody who comes live, but you get the work, you get the information on the replay as well. So let's get started. So please share, especially if you're like, oh, this is good. Brenda, one ain't no lie on this, so share it, please. So Lynne is a self-development minister and businesswoman with 36 years of experience in the metaphysical arena and corporate world. What a beautiful combination. She has been a sensitive intuitive all her life, living in this world, but always tuned in to other dimensions. So as a young woman, she earned a degree in economics with the aspiration of becoming an attorney. Realizing law was not a true passion, she found herself in a management program with one of the largest banks in the US. So she has worked in the banking industry in various capacities, from small business loans to investment banking and personal banking. So her career was on the rise, but banking again was not her passion either, and spirituality has always been. So her continued life journey delivered her to the seminary Foundation for Spiritual Freedom. She received extensive spiritual, metaphysical, and self-empowerment training, culminating in her becoming an ordained Essene minister. Once ordained, she owned a retail store in San Francisco's famous Pier 39. Mystic Visions was a beautiful place where people came to receive life guidance, purchase self-help books, crystals, jewelries, and so much more. Way before you could find all this stuff online, right? So it's clear to see Lynne possessed the attributes of blending a very spiritual, open-hearted way of conducting business successfully. And she didn't stop there. It was an organic step when Lynne founded Church of the Essenes and created its supporting Business Center of Life Miracles, CLM. So currently, Lynne's journey has led her to partner with an established company where business conducted as an entrepreneur is a tool for self-growth, self-awareness, transformation, and self-enlightenment. So it is a dynamic process, allowing everyone who chooses to take their self-explorative journey with her to manifest a lifestyle only before dreamed of. So in other words, Lynne guides others towards the manifestation of small and large life goals. They're path deep into self and out again, affecting the transformation of simply being brand new and whole. So it's through the process where the blend of spirituality with practicality brings forth personal and business growth alike, allowing Lynne to help others thrive beyond any struggle just to survive. So take that in a moment, what all I've said. I know, impressive, right? She's like, I sound good. I always say I look good in black and white, right? I sound good on paper. I know. Who is this woman? I want to be friends with her, Lynne says. It's you. So, this is the thing, and this is what I love. And it's also, I believe it's probably like a connection that Lynne and I have. Because I often kiddingly say I'm a woo-woo person with a business background. And although I do believe that there are a lot of people that we can learn from, but I find people who have backgrounds like Lynne's, and not like, Lynne's is 36 years, so it's very impressive, can help us mainstream folk, right, understand it from a level that we can go, oh, okay, I want to participate. Because sometimes some things are really presented to people that it feels like maybe it questions their spirituality or their faith or their religion. And it's really, and you'll find when we talk to her that it's not intended to be that. It's intended to enhance wherever you're at, your beliefs. And sometimes those beliefs, and I'm not saying, again, don't read between the lines on this. Sometimes there are some things that we need to question. Like, is it leading us in the right way? Is it serving us best? That type of thing. So I'm thinking that your program does those kinds of things, Lynne.
Yes.
It allows us to know. So welcome.
Thank you. Yes. Wow. I had never really read that bio on me. I put some things together. My copywriter did it, and I'm like, oh, wow, she makes me sound good.
Well, and it's kind of funny when we have a third party that does things for us.
Yes.
Because they will say things that we typically wouldn't, because it'd be like, oh, I don't want to showboat, or, oh, I don't want to, make it sound like I'm talking, I'm all about myself or whatever. But it's good to know, because pay attention, folks. We're going to be talking about stress here, because this, whenever I have guests, my featured guests come in, I'm like, what are the challenges? And she's like, of your clients, not of her. Well, I'm not saying that she doesn't have stress in her life, but I'm just saying of your clients. So we're going to talk about stress, Lynne. And so the different types of stress. Tell us about that, please.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to mention the fact that stress is a response that people have to a perceived threat. And notice I use the word perceived, because not everything is really a threat. But if the mind sees it as a threat, then we go into a stress response of flight, fight, or freeze. And so when that happens, and when it continues to happen, and I'll give an example of my life yesterday, when it continues to happen over a period of time, your body is going to have certain reactions and certain cues that continue to come up that aren't necessarily always that great for us. So for example, yesterday, well, actually the day before yesterday, I knew I was going to have certain meetings yesterday. And rather than get a good night's sleep, I was engaged in things. So I only slept about 3 hours. I started my day with a business meeting at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm rolling along, kind of tired, but, just still rolling along, building into my day time to what? De-stress, meditate, take a nap, relax, before I had to move forward with classes for that evening. But during that time that I would have normally rested, I receive a phone call from my youngest daughter. Mom, I have these symptoms. My lymph node under my arm is swollen. I've got pain from my shoulder down to the tips of my fingers. I was bit by a mosquito. I've looked it up. It looks like it's West Nile disease. What should I do? Da. I'm like, okay, honey, it's fine. You need some blood work done, so on and so forth. You'll be okay. I'll do some healing work on you. Then I get a call from my sister. albeit she's walking slow and she's for the most part okay. Mom fell and broke her rib. I'm like, wonderful. So those two incidences, which happened literally back to back during my de-stress time, of course, revved it up. So my response immediately was go into fight mode. Okay, who do we need to call? What do we need to do? How do I need to get the help that mom needs? Let's see, I can't go over there today, but I'll go over there tomorrow. So it just takes the brain into a whole spin, right? All right, my youngest daughter, she needs to go to the doctor. This is the person, this is who you need to contact. This is what you need to tell them. This is how you need to handle it. Da, 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 da. And at that time, and having that kind of response, and I'm sure we all do this, when there's a perceived threat, and in this case for me, the perceived threat was my mom's 91 years old. This could be really serious. Oh my God, maybe she won't recover. She's elderly. Da, da, da. And then with my youngest daughter, it was like, is she really going to be able to handle this on her own? Because I'm still being mom, and of course she can. But it was those kinds of things. Now, added with the stress, because it's not just perceived threat, it's also stress can come from overtaxing by overusing the body, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body. Okay. And so even on a spirit level, we're not able to move back sometimes into center. So when we are in these places of stress, it's important at that time to really take a look at and recognize what some of the symptoms are. Heart palpitations, breaking out in a sweat, not being able to sleep, not being able to shut the mind down. Because like many people, they'll think, okay, using this as an example, oh my God, I lost my job. Oh, now that I lost my job, I won't be able to pay for groceries. Oh, I can't, how am I going to pay the mortgage or the rent? Oh my God, I'm going to be out on the street. Oh, if I'm in the street, I'll never be able to get another job. Oh my God, it's going to be cold. And the brain, we all have it with something. It spins round and round. And so at that point, we're not able to sleep. We're not able to do a lot of things that are significant for us to do. I want to make sure I'm still, yes, I am, that's significant for us to do. So there are some cues and clues and things we need to look for. It can even be a slight headache. It can be something very subtle, like all of a sudden becoming more fatigued. It can be everything seems just fine, and we go into what we think is a heart attack, but it's really a panic attack. All of these are signs physically that we're experiencing stress. It can be pacing. It can be overeating. It could be not eating at all. But it's important to learn what your cues and clues are when you become stressed. And most of the time when you are stressed, you're either going to fight. You can go into immediate, I'm going to conquer this. We're going to, or you can go into, I just think I'm going to sleep the rest of the day. I can't move. Let me just watch some good movies because I can't do anything else. Okay. Or you might just be completely immobilized. I mean, like literally immobilized. Your brain doesn't think. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to fix it, but you're too wired up to relax. Okay, that's kind of the freeze state. I always turn to meditation. Meditation is a great way to allow yourself, first of all, to help calm the physical body down. And that means just being still. Even if you don't have a specific meditative practice, it can mean sitting up in a chair, being still and breathing. Just something as simple as taking the breath, and not like that, because that's going to create more stress. but it's really breathing from the tips of your toes all the way up through your body, all the way through the spine to the top of your head, and exhaling. And as you exhale, really going into the intention of the release. And if you do that 20 times, that's not really it's not what I necessarily call meditation in and of itself, but that action will help you to relax your body, to relax your nervous system, because when we become stressed, the nervous system, which affects and goes out to every organ of the body, immediately says, we've got to be on the ready. And so you want to just relax everything. Then you can enter into whatever your meditative state is. And when you do, now you're releasing from the mental body. You can let go of
the monkey mind.
The monkey mind, the crazy thoughts, right? Then you're starting to clear the emotional body. The sensations of the fear and the worry and the, being twisted in knots start to unravel, it untwists. You can take another deep breath and it just relaxes. And so as you begin to do this and practice this, it's what can help de-stress, whether you're stressed on a physical level. And by the way, I have to add this: poor diet, lack of movement, and not getting enough rest overstresses the body. So there may not even be anything you're worried about, but your body is in freak out mode because it's not able to have what's needed to just basically and easily keep repairing itself. So there are all these different types of stress and levels of stress. And meditation really is one of the most powerful ways I know to assist in the physical, emotional, mental, and of course, you're taking care of the spiritual when you're able to do that. So after this show today, I was telling Brenda, I will be spending at least 3 to 4 hours in just meditation. Now, when you go into deep meditation, it can be very much like sleep because everything is rested and relaxed, but you're fully conscious and aware of what's going on, not only externally, but internally. And that's when you start having what I call the aha moments. The questions you've asked yourself on how to do something, what's needed for this project, where do I need to go, how do I want to accomplish this? The answers start to come. The realizations start to show up. Oh, wow, I've really been angry about this. And that anger is blocking me. Oh my goodness, you know what? I've been in resistance in doing that, but I see now that if I really do that, it'll take me where I want to go. Oh goodness, I've been in so much judgment about what's going on out there. It's been a reflection of how I'm judging myself. Maybe I need to change that. So you move into a place where you can be completely relaxed, but at the same time, you're consciously aware. Answers start to come and you're rejuvenated, and then you can move forward.
Lynn, I find with people that the reason that they don't get answers is because they don't ask. Right? So one, you have to take the time, but also two, you have to ask.
Yes.
To get that guidance, to understand, and also to, when Lynn was talking, it's like, who here, when she was talking about breathing, paid attention to their breathing, like me? And I think that that's one of the things that we don't realize is that when we get stressed, we hold our breath.
Mm-hmm. We do.
So when you start off, like here's step one, right? Breathe. Pay attention to your breathing. And be intentional.
Yes.
Know what it is that you're wanting. Before I knew, like in my 20s, right? Like before I knew anything, like I worked in the fashion industry. This was many, many moons ago. And I would have to understand about displays or how something would look or how we would do this. And even then, like I knew, like even in school, I knew read my notes that the test is going to be on the next day and that'll be good. Or think about the solution on this display and I will just be able to do it. I will have the answer when I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and what Lynne is talking about, and you can, be able to do anything that you want to do, is that you don't have to like light the candles and lower the lights. And, I have been getting so many great answers doing dishes lately. Like I've been like, maybe I should, and not that I have a ton of dishes, but it's like, I'm like, I need to do dishes more often, right? Because it's like, oh, I got this insight in this, or oh, I got this, or oh, however this is.
And do
And
you
it's
know
been,
why?
and it's been pretty amazing because I've been in that, like, I want this answer. I've been in that, this is what I need, or this is what I want. It's just been just, one of those things that's been, again, I know this. Like I used to always say also, like when, and we're not doing it right now because Lynn and I both live in places where it's kind of hot, right? Is that, when I walk the dog, I would say like, this is what I would like to know. The cool thing is that when you get into a practice, like, and I know some of y'all are saying, well, I don't have 3 or 4 hours.
No, and you
Got
don't
it.
have to.
Right.
20
This
minutes.
is what Lynne does. And because of where she's been the last couple of days and some of the things that have gone on, she knows this is what she needs to do for herself because she's figured this out for herself.
I've been doing this for almost 40 years, so
Right.
it's a different practice for me than it might be for others. But 20 minutes can make a big difference.
And I'll just say, Lynn's going to be giving you some information and some other ways like that you can benefit from her. I
Mhm.
always offer a draw income to you meditation that's 1 minute. And just start there. That's what I always tell people. Start first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. Do
Mhm.
this for 1 minute. If your intention is not to draw income to you, but you want answers, whatever your intention is, set it in there.
Mhm.
And I hear from people, I always say do it for 30 days because again, it's consistency.
It is. And you have to build consistency. I mean, I meditate for an hour in the morning and 2 hours in the evening. And the meditation 2 hours in the evening also encompasses, for me personally, doing healing work, not only on family members, friends of family members, clients, customers, and the entire planet. Because I do have a lot of communication with angels and spirit guides, which I have since I was, I don't know, 3, I think is as far back as I remember. And so I do a lot of that work and meditation, and that's not required for everyone to do. We all have a way, as you were saying, Brenda, in order to bring ourselves into a place of focus and center. And so, but I do recommend 20 minutes at least of still meditation, because if you never learn how to be still, you are going to also continue to tax and stress your body and tax and stress your mind. There must be a release. And I have a lot of people say, well, I meditate when I jog. No, you don't. You might be able to clear your mental body, but your physical body is still in movement. There's something that I share with everyone. When you truly want to be in a place of peace, when you want to experience, and it's not an emotion, it's not a feeling. When you want to truly be in a place of the state of beingness, that is joy, that is love, that is peace. That means everything is resonating that way, and there's none of this other stuff that's going on. And the longer and the more you practice it, even as stressed out as my body and my mind and emotionally felt yesterday, underneath all of that, when I did just like, ground and become more present, it was like, yeah, I always experience joy. Even with many of the deaths, and during this COVID situation, there have been 31 people within the past month that I know or who are relatives of people I know well that have died or not died, had COVID. 12 of them have died, including some of my relatives. And yet I'm in a state of joyfulness. And I'm still in a state ultimately of peace, even though there are periods where it feels like da 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 da. But when I just check and rest for even a moment, the peace is there. So that's why I suggest to everyone learning how to be in a place of stillness, starting off with 5 minutes or 1 minute, as Brenda has the 1 minute meditation, building it to 5 minutes, building it to 10 minutes, and just building it to at least a 20-minute, not, meditation. Then you'll be able to sometimes get those answers, but you have to ask, right? I'm always asking questions. Always, 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 always. Well, why is this significant to me? Well, there's so many people around me right now that are leaving the planet. What is the significance of that on a planetary level, on an energetic level? And what is that significance that I'm experiencing this indirectly with all of these people, or directly? What am I to learn from it? Where am I in this process? You know what? I'm having a birthday this month, and I'll be right in the middle of my 60s. And so what does that mean? How am I looking at mortality? You know what I'm saying? These questions all have answers, because you can't even ask the question if the answer didn't already exist. That's the truth of it.
I love that. Say that again, Lynne, because it is so true.
If the question always has an answer, because the question couldn't be formed if the answer didn't already exist. That's how it is. So when you're washing dishes, you get the answer because your conscious mind isn't going off on tangents with everything else. Or sometimes I'll get answers in the shower or while I'm driving, because our conscious.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's occupied with other things, right? And being occupied with these other things allows the real answer to come through. So in meditation, those answers can come through. And then I'm just going to say there's a place where the best way I can describe it is like a beautiful vista that literally opens up, and the knowledge, the awareness, it is so divine that pours through you. And you are just in complete knowingness of everything in so many ways. It's glorious. And so the more you practice that, you can always be in a state of constant joy. And I realized about 2 years ago, I moved straight into that place of joy consistently. And from that joy, and that, by the way, joy, peace, love, those three vibrational energies, they actually are one and the same, but at different frequencies, if you will. And so when you fully experience that, manifestations also come quickly. Within 24 hours, stuff just manifests. You think it and it is, because you're in a state of alignment. So it's not just meditation that I teach, but I also help people with their physical body and to become healthier and de-stress. And another way I de-stress, which is why I'm drinking this, is this company that I have partnered with called Naturally Plus. And they have only 3 antioxidant supplements, but they're so powerful that they are in some countries considered pharmaceutical grade. And I've seen some amazing things happen with it, which I won't go into all of that now, but on a physical body level, I've seen many people, including myself, benefit so significantly, because what it does is basically it helps get rid of the harmful free radicals and toxins that prevent our bodies from truly healing themselves. I used to wonder when I was in school in science, and you learned that the cells regenerate every 7 years, right? And so when I was a kid, I'm like, well, if that's true, how come people get old? How come people die? How come people get sick? Those were the questions I used to ask when I was a kid. Well, I didn't really pursue the answers, but the answers found me. Again, there's always an answer to your question, no matter when that answer appears, right? And so that's when I realized a few years ago, oh, it's due to harmful free radicals. And I started looking at this construction of the physical body and learning the anatomy more and the biology of it. And I went, okay. So then as I went deeper, I realized this is why antioxidants work so well for the physical body. Now, it's just as important as I've been talking about to take care of your physical body, to reduce things like stress, because stress puts our immune system into hyperdrive. And when our immune system goes into hyperdrive, we start to develop a level of harmful free radicals where the inside of our body looks like an old rusty can. And that's because of the molecules that are rearranged in oxygen atoms that releases throughout our body and every cell of our body in a way that keeps continuing to be actually harmful for us. So I find that in particular, I drink this because this is the equivalent of the miracle waters or healing waters people talk about from France. And they also have natural springs in Mexico, Greece, I think Honduras, throughout the world. But Lourdes, France is most well known because it's been discovered more globally over the past century. This is not healing water. I'm not going to tell you that it heals, cures, prevents, or diagnoses. What I will tell you, though, is the hydrogen gas in this product has the highest concentration than any other product or natural spring in the world. That's already been proven and tested by several molecular biologists. And there are many of them who are really studying this science now. And so it helps considerably. It helped lower my A1C from diabetic numbers down to normal. I'm not going to tell you I'm not a diabetic, but what I will say is I'm at a better place, because when your cells are fully healthy, your cells are operating optimally, it will repair itself because we're continuously replicating new cells. So,
yeah, and I find that, again, products, things that we do, it's why like whole body vibration machines are very popular. It's
yeah,
why infrared saunas, because they increase your circulation, they increase the oxygen, again, breathing, certain products. There's so many things. And, the common denominator is increasing the oxygen, getting rid of what's been damaged as a result,
balancing protons and electrons within oxygen atoms. Really, that's the crux of it at the DNA level. That's what all of those things do that help our bodies. And so when our physical body is in peak condition, our emotional body, you get freaked out about something or you worry about something, but you're able to recover from it faster. Your mental body starts to relax a little bit more. Or if you're freaked out mentally and you start to take care of that by asking questions, breathing, and knowing the answer is there, everything else can calm down, including the body, where it can go back into a more of a homeostasis condition. And so, so every mental, emotional, physical, spiritual body are all connected. And when you work on all of them by doing certain things that aid all four of your bodies, now you can move into a state of beingness that is peace, joy, love.
I find that I feel like one of the gifts has been of quarantine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has had people slow down,
Mm-hmm.
some begrudgingly. People have to step back. That's always a thing also that I tell my clients, we have to step back,
Yeah.
because when we get into the thick of things, we can't see the answers. We can't receive the messages. We have to step back. So that's what meditation does for us. Like one of my favorite things is legs up the wall.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorite things. It's such a great stretch. Doesn't feel like I'm stretching. It's a great yoga move. And
yeah.
I do it for 30 minutes
That's
because that's what they say is like the most effective for
yes.
people.
And you're helping your heart. You have more blood actually that can go up to the brain. Yeah, that's a
So
great.
there's, many ways, right? We can Google and figure out, like Lynne said this, and she suggested a few things, but I'm also see what Google has to say, right? Because Google's all knowing and can give us a few, maybe some other things or ways that we can figure it out for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But the breathing, the increasing of oxygen, the one of my big discovery and all of this, because I've been very blessed to have the business that I have, was that I was going to step back, right? This was my plan for 2020. Step back, do a little rebranding, figure out, and then be able to move forward. And it's like, nope, God had a different plan. What's that saying? We have a plan and then God laughs. It's like, okay, well, you're going to be busy with this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, okay, like you're gonna work too. You don't get to step back, right? Like, okay, So what I discovered about myself, which I don't think it really like again, our brain has to get these things and it don't move that fast sometimes, no matter how smart we are, or there's limitations within this, and it was like, oh, I think I have some challenges with sleeping.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Found a supplement that helps me, and like life is different. And what I realized is that, and this may sound familiar to some people, was that I was just like, the hamster on the hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And like I couldn't stop. Like I couldn't get off the merry-go-round, so to speak. But once I started catching up with my sleep, I was able to step back in a better, more profound way. Now, thank goodness, I have ThetaHealing. Thank goodness I have other ways, to be able to do things, which has probably been one of the reasons, not good, bad, or indifferent, that I really didn't have to address it until now.
Right.
But in this up leveling, which whether or not you want to do it, you're going to do it, right? You can do it the easy way or you can do it the hard way, right? And it's going to happen. So it's like, okay, how can I be better prepared for this?
Yes.
What am I not looking at that I need to look at? I mean, I was laughing when Lynne was talking because I was thinking, people always laugh when I go, oh, well, isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm.
That's my response a lot. Like, oh, isn't that interesting? They're like, what does that mean? And it's like, well, look at the synchronicities, or look, like,
Exactly.
why do you think that came forward? Why,
Mm-hmm.
are you seeing the pattern here? And who is that common denominator? Like Lynne was saying, who is that common denominator? And until we're willing to say that, like, I'm the common denominator in this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's, so therefore it changed. And what I find and what my experience has been, Lynne, and I'm sure you can, stress is a reaction.
Yes.
Worry is a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us don't realize how reactive we are.
Mm-hmm.
Because we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know, and we just get into that state.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's almost like we go on autopilot in our reaction.
It's true. And the more that we experience whatever the stress is, even where we're not aware, there are a lot of ways that we can be under stress and not even know it. Like, for example, in talking to my co-host, I do also have a show 2 days a week, and we were talking about stress and our personal things, and she said, "Oh, my big stress moment is doing the show live and then everything cutting out, like losing power." I said, yeah, that might be a little perspiration moment, where the stress comes up. But then there are other times where it's just, am I going to be okay? Especially people who are perfectionists. Okay, is this going to be okay? Am I going to say the right thing? Do I look okay? Is it, that can be something that can be habitual for a perfectionist, but the stress happens in subtle ways that aren't even fully registering. And that's why it's important to pay attention to the cues. And I loved what you said, Brenda. Breathe. When you think about breathing, just take the deep breath and
Exactly.
continue to do that. Oh, am I breathing? Am I holding my breath? So that's so important. There was something else you mentioned before that I wanted to just make a comment to. When you, yes, when you said spirituality, how the mind just goes into all these places, and so often people think that spirituality is got to be separate from what we do in our everyday life. But the comment I wanted to make was spirituality is the way of life. It's not something you compartmentalize only when you're getting a healing, or only when you're getting a reading, or only when you're going to be with your community of worship, or only when you're reading that book or you're meditating. It's not compartmentalized like that. It is life itself. So, are there days that we get really maybe hyper stressed? I think for me, yesterday was a hyper stressed day, yes. But for the rest of the past few months, even with all of the people making their transition from this world into the next, there was always like calm. There was, because of the practice of of my particular practice and the asking of questions. So, Lynn, why are you feeling uptight right now? What is that uncomfortable feeling, going on? Where is your mind wandering to? What is it that you're wanting to create in your life? And how is your thought about this situation being stupid blocking the way that you should move forward? Shift that idea. That's not stupid. That's not ridiculous. What that is an energy form that has its purpose and place, if for no other reason than to show me where I get stuck. So, you know what? I can change that and say, thank you for showing up the way you do. I've got it. And now I can keep moving forward. So it's a way of life. It's a way of living continuously. So anyway, I just wanted to.
And how are you willing to get your answers? So, here's the spoiler alert. Lynn and I are in our spirituality as we are on this co-live.
Mhm.
You're witnessing it right now, right? I mean, that's just how life is.
It is.
And it's how do we want to get the answers?
Mhm.
And are we paying attention? Because I know I didn't used to pay attention when I was younger. And God really had to make me pay attention, make me pay attention. And then I finally said, I promise I will pay attention. Can I get the answers in a different way? Can they be in a kinder, gentler way? Right? Because I promise. Right. And again, that's where the consistency comes, and allowing us to be in the awareness, and
Yeah.
allowing me to not feel, not buy in to the limitations of my brain.
Yes.
I
Or
think people get, confused, like that their knowing is in their mind. No,
no,
it's not.
that has
Right?
nothing to do with knowing.
Right.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. It is simply a tool that is used in conjunction with your emotions, which of course is energy in motion. Your emotions are not your feelings. A feeling is, consider a feeling something like the sun shining through the window. And at the point where the sun literally meets the window, that's the feeling. But is that the sun or is that the window? No. It's just a feeling at that moment in time. And it's not even real. It's just what you experience in that moment in time. So the truth of it is, when you are thinking, or you believe that the brain is all knowing. No, all knowing is all that's around you. And when you allow your brain to just be still for a moment, and then when you ask the questions, in terms of how can I quiet my mind? I really want to receive the answer to this. How can I receive the answer? Maybe you'll be compelled to go to the park and sit under a tree, and you're like, oh, that's crazy, because the mind then wants to go into all the reasons why you can't, or you shouldn't, or why it doesn't make sense. But if you actually got out of resistance and did it, you may discover that the answer is there because someone comes by, you have a conversation, and bam, you've got the answer. So that's the knowingness, not all this other stuff, that tends to go on.
Or, and a lot of times what happens for people too, Lynn, is that something won't work out. Right. And so for just being in our humanness, a lot of people will be like focus on how it didn't work out instead of seeing what unfolds because it didn't. Right. Because that's where the answer is. That's where the, epiphany, the direction, the, course correcting of the journey, however you want to call it. If we're willing to just be like, as I say, I've, not been on my journey quite as long as Lynn, but 29 years I've been looking at myself, being inside, taking classes, applying that type of thing. And it's a process, it's a journey, right? And, that was the deal, is that when I realized that my brain did not have all the answers, that things not working out, like it's been proven over and over and over again in my life, that if it doesn't work out, I just say thank you.
Yes.
Because what is better, because I want that. I want what is better, what's for my highest and best good, how that is where I need to be.
And you just never know. I have to share another quick story. Someone broke in my house a few years ago, and I had a lot of cash in the house. I hadn't made it to the bank and so forth. And they stole my jewelry, they stole the cash and other things. And of course, my first response was, oh no, I've been robbed. But then as I moved into a place of really asking, well, why would I be robbed? What was going on? There were many things that were at work. Okay, so I just want to share a couple of little nuggets here in terms of energy. One is the energy of me having been robbed had a lot to do with my fear, believe it or not, from 20 years prior about people taking things, stealing from me, dwelling on that, just kind of being worried about it and so forth. And so even if people don't realize it, what you're thinking and what you're saying, if it doesn't show up immediately, it doesn't mean it may not show up 2 minutes from now, 10 years from now, 5 weeks from now, because there's no time or space with energy. But if a person says, I've done everything right and everything good, and I'm doing everything that I possibly can, and it's still like, oh my God, I've been so good, and I've been working really hard at doing this, and how come they robbed me? Okay, well, but where has been your thoughts? How have you been speaking? How have you perceived things? Where have you been in a lot of judgment about things? Have you been critical about stuff? Have you been caught up in believing that you're your anger or your worry or your jealousy or your grief or your despair? So if you're believing that this is who you are, or you're again thinking your mind is who you are, if you're caught up on all of that, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are, no matter things may not work out the way you want. And you're like, I'm a good person, how come bad things happen to me? Well, as soon as you speak that, guess what? You've already now created for a moment in the future for something else that may not work the way you would like for it to work. So
and fear is such a magnet. That's what people don't realize. Worry is such a, I love the saying in
all
Think and
energy
Grow
is
Rich that worry is a prayer
mm-hmm.
to ask for what you don't want.
Yeah, it's a prayer against yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing that, you know, and if you feel like that changing your mind is going to change these things, it's not. Right? It's like we have to clear the mind. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's, you know, just to piggyback on what Lynne's saying, and then we'll do a little work, is that sometimes we don't know why we're calling the things in that we're calling in. You know, maybe it was something traumatic. Maybe, you know, Lynne was like, you know, this was, you know, this is something that I've been carrying for 20 years and it finally had a physical manifestation in my life. And that's the big thing. And that's what I really love about theta healing. And that's what most, you know, like most of the information out there will tell you will change how you think and it'll change how you believe. It's not how it works. I mean, it does work that way, but this is the deal. It takes
It's a
so
beginning.
long for it to work that way. It's years, decades of having to like, and then be like so focused, like so that you're not like that. It's just, you know, what I like, and I know what Lynne is saying, like as far as like her tools that she uses, is like there are easier, better, quicker ways to shift your life. To stop the repeating patterns, to, you know, to stop being that magnet. And that's what happens with unresolved trauma. And I often say that trauma can be something like as simple as like my mom was late picking me up from preschool one day. That may be traumatic for you. It's all relative. It depends on the person. Whereas it may be, you know, I got robbed, right? Which, or, you know, I was in a car accident. I mean, it can be anything. Right. And it just depends on who you came in as, where your tipping point is. Right. And so what we're talking about, like with these things and like not, you know, making time for yourself, not getting rest, not taking care of yourself, lowers that tipping point. And these are all, and they're just some really simple little things that you can do. And that's what I really love about theta healing. That's what I really love about this modality, is that things happen very quickly. I've been doing this for 14 years. I know how to do it, you know, to where it can be complete and permanent, and it's good. And that's why people love to like listen to these collabs. They're like, you know, because again, even if you're watching a replay of this, all you have to do is say yes out loud.
That's true.
If you would like the work, because your brain needs to know it. The universe needs to know it. Whoever you believe to be your higher power needs to know it. Like, okay, she wants this or he wants this. You just got to say yes when we hear something like, this is what I want. And then what happens with theta healing is we clear what prevents that from happening. But for a lot of us, and even in our processes of what we do, we get that little twinge. We get that like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. Then you can either use a tool like theta healing. You know, I teach this as you know, it's a certification course, but I teach people how to do this for themselves or for their clients or whoever, so that it can just shift. Like when we have these awarenesses and when we're open to the awarenesses, again, many tools out there, many roads to get where we want to get, you know, but after 13 different certifications in integrative healing, this was the one that I found for me. Because I'm one of those, like, I want it to be quick, painless. I've already been through the pain. I've already used the pain to figure out what it is that I need to shift. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. You know, I've discovered something, and that's what Lynne is saying. I've got these tools. I'm willing to share with you. I'm willing to help you, support you, so that it can be different. So with theta healing, like I said, we bypass the conscious and subconscious mind because that limits you. Do the changes on the cellular level, can even change the DNA. I know that this is what Lynne does as well. She just does it in her way, which she's created, how she's found it. But I always find the most profound healers do it from a theta brainwave, whether or not they realize it, whether or not they know it. It's, you know, and I often, you know, people will like come and want to take the class and they'll be like, oh, will I be able to learn how to get into a theta brainwave? I'm like, in 5 minutes. That's not where the practice needs to happen. Like, you've been doing this your whole life. I'm just going to remind you and teach you like what you can do. And that, just like when we're talking about meditation, when you follow the, you know, couple of steps here, you know, what can happen as a result of that. I remember one time, we're going to get to work, but decided to do, from an East Indian perspective, a mantra, and do it like for 40 days. Do the mantra 108 times, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. And I had never committed to, and this was years ago, to doing anything for 40 days. So it was like a big deal, but I was like in it. So I was like, going to do this. I'm telling you, I had every psychic come out of the woodwork for me, because I traveled for a living at that time, and I would be somewhere and like somebody would make eye contact with me and I'd be like, oh, I know, they're a psychic, you know, or they're an intuitive. And they would stop and they'd look at me and they'd be like, do I know you? And I'd be like, no. I'm not from here, and this was before the internet. So it wasn't like they just saw me somewhere or something. So I was like, no. And they'd be like, do you come to my shop? And I'd be like, what kind of shop do you have? Like, and they'd be like, well, I have it. And I'd be like, no. And they would always look at me and go, I have a message for you. And I'd be like, thank you. And honestly, I could get my own messages. So I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. But again, it cleared the energy, cleared my mind. And like people could sense it. And they really sense, because this was 30 years ago or something. It was like, this was a long time ago. So these are the things. But again, I also at that time didn't realize, like I was asking like for, I was doing a mantra at that time to like remove obstacles. But this is the deal, like remove the obstacles, but then what do I want? And that's why it was kind of like, I was just getting all these people were like, I have the answer for you, because it was like, I wasn't asking the question. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do with Theta Healing. I go into a Theta brainwave, and I always make sure with any new client or student that I always make sure that they have 3 basic beliefs in place. I want an instant healing. I deserve an instant healing, and an instant healing is possible. So again, and Lynne is going to be your cuer. If you would like that, just say yes out loud.
Yes. I'd say yes to the universe and the flow of the universe. So yes.
And there are several things that we can do. One, we need to forgive ourselves, right? And what I love about Theta Healing is it allows us to forgive ourselves on a much deeper level. And we have to forgive ourselves for just knowing what we know, right? Like, so now you've gotten some new information. Maybe you're like, oh my God, again, that perfectionist, right? I was doing it wrong, or I can't believe I wasn't aware of that. All right, well, just forgive yourself for that. And now you know better. Now you know like what you want to do moving forward. So we want to change that our mistakes of the past slow down or prevent us from moving forward. We want to remove the obligation that we have to worry. We want to change what prevents us from raising our vibration with attachment, right? So we want to be able to do it for our highest and best. Because if we have attachment, usually something comes to kind of go, oh, that can't happen. So, and then let's also change what prevents us from not having the room to do what's for our highest and best in a way that's for our highest and best, right? So for everybody, it could be different. It doesn't have to be like what Lynne and I are talking about, but let's just open the way for you to find your way, however that is. So if you would like those, just say yes out loud.
Yes.
And then let's just get from that divine perspective so that we understand. I always find like if we know what it feels like on that deep divine level, then we can shift what we need to or attract what we need to. But for that joy, peace, and love, let's get those divine definitions. So we know like what we're wanting to magnetize to us. We're understanding like what it is that we want to be so that we can duplicate it, replicate it, attract it, however that needs to happen. So for joy, peace, and love. So if you'd like that, just say yes out loud.
Yes.
So we're at the top of the hour, and I want Lynne to let us know, like, what what do you want us to know? You've been here with us this last hour, Lynne. What do you want to share with us?
So there's so many things, 40 years of quantum and metaphysics, and and a lifetime of talking to spirit. There's a lot more I could say, but for right now, I want to share. There is a health and wealth webinar that is coming up this Friday. It's at 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 3 p.m. Hawaii time, 8 p.m. Central time, 9 p.m. Eastern time, and 9 a.m. in the morning, Japan and Philippine time. And the Health and Wealth webinar is through Zoom. And I would love for all of you to join us. It's just about an hour. And we will be talking more about how you can become healthier and also how you can become wealthier. I've combined my life experience that is in business. I do own a couple of businesses now, and my spiritual aspect, and in terms of helping to, again, I don't like using the word healing, but I will say provide room for you to help your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical body to heal and become one unit. And so anyway, that's this Friday. That is the 14th of August. And also, I just want to do a quick little, as I mentioned, I have I co-host a show called News You Can Use that is on every Monday and Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time. So please join my co-host and I on News You Can Use with Lotus Richey. She is the originator of the show, and I am now co-hosting with her. And that's Lotus, as in the flower, and Richey, Riche. So News You
We'll
Can
make
Use.
sure that we get those in the comments for y'all so that you'll be able to get the links and be able to do that. And then also to be able to get a hold of Lynne, she is centeroflightmiracles.org.
Mm-hmm.
And you can email her at centeroflightmiracles@gmail.
Yes.
And again, I will put, like the rest of her contact information in the comments so that you guys can be able to get a hold of her. And I often tell people, if you have any questions, like on anything that I covered, I have a link to be able to set up a time to chat with me. It's called chatwithbrendab.com. Happy to give you 30 minutes, give you some insight. I often say, if it's not, apparently I know a lot of really great people. You just met Lynne. So if I can't help you, I know I have a good Rolodex. I'll just say that. And also, too, in the description has the link for the 1-minute draw income to you meditation that I said it's about intention. So whatever you want to set your intention with that, 1 minute, first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening, do it for 30 days. I get emails all the time about how this is benefiting people. So if we're just wanting to change our habits, if we're wanting to change our routine, if we want things to be different, it starts sometimes with just little things like that expand into other things. So Lynne, thank you so much for joining us today. And I am going to be, just a reminder, I'm going to be interviewing Patty DiNucci next week. And she is about communication and relationship building, and it's going to be great. So same time, same place. Again, it'll be another really great connection. So I thank y'all for joining us. Please tag, please share so that people can get this yummy information from Lynne. Right.
Thank you, Brenda. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you again, Lynne.
Yes.